Yeah, let's just switch it. I'm just going to go straight. That's the people part.
Aloha all. I'm coming from you on site by the sea. Hopefully you can hear me and it comes out well. I'm actually in Santa Barbara right now. Drove out early this morning. Excited to be here. We got a fun session together. Let's everybody. As usual, Pete and Evan Gloucester here, founder Tiki by the Sea. Steve Casey, Birmingham, Alabama. Aaron Joseph, Baltimore, Maryland. And Shannon Mustipher. Wave hi, Shannon.
Aloha! How's everyone doing?
All right. I'm going to talk to everybody about what we got going on today, and then we're going to kick it over to Shannon. So, bringing the funk in cocktails. This session is really about going beyond the tradition of Jamaican rum and finding other ways to bring funky flavors out of your tiki drinks. Super excited. Shannon Mustipher is joining us. Just a little background here. First of all, chat box and questions. If you guys are on Crowdcast, you can put questions in there. We'll take them. I'll be monitoring it. I'll kind of interject those as we go. Sharing the event. Happy for anybody to share it out there. There's that button there as well. Also on Facebook. Tip jar. So we just started doing this. You guys were great last week. This time we're sending it Venmo at Shannon.Mustipher or PayPal, Shannon.Mustipher@gmail.com. So check that out. Shannon-Mustipher on Venmo, sorry. Presentation will be 30 to 40 minutes. We'll get into a cocktail session, and then we got 5 questions with the Tiki fam. So a little background on Shannon. Author and bar consultant. Spirits educator, cocktail consultant, and expert on the topic of rum and cane spirits. 2014, she became the beverage director of Gladys Caribbean in Brooklyn, has poured cocktails in settings ranging from neighborhood pubs to Michelin-star restaurants. She's worked across a variety of spirits brands, one of the founding members of Women Leading Rum, and then she launched in 2018 Women Who Tiki, a tropical cocktail-centric pop-up that gathers a team of women bartenders to share their talents. Shannon's writing, cocktail recipes, and opinions have been featured on a number of publications, including Thrillist, Punch, GQ, Liquor.com, New York Magazine, and more. She's been a panelist at BCB, Tiki Oasis, and NY Rum Fest. She's been nominated for Imbibed 75 People, and you definitely need to check out her book, Tiki, Modern Tropical Cocktails. So with that, we're going to get over to Shannon to get
guys.
This presentation.
Aloha, welcome. Thanks for being here, Peter. Thank you for that intro. And I just got to say to everyone who's been involved in Tiki by the Sea, it's been a pivotal experience for me. Pete, as you mentioned, I got to gush a little bit. So I opened up Gladys Caribbean in Crown Heights 6 years ago. And before that, I maybe touched like maybe 4 bottles of rum. Didn't really know what the category was about. Was totally clueless, so to speak. When I was given this task of creating a rum bar in a month, which is insane when I look back on it, I fell in love. I tasted somewhere in the range of 200 to 250 different spirits from all over Latin America, South America, the globe, to settle on 50 that I thought would fulfill what I wanted out of any spirit on my bar, which is A, delicious by itself, and B, you can make really fun drinks with it. So Awa was one of those, and Tiki by the Sea was the experience that convinced me that My bar should offer or could offer really good example of authentic tiki cocktails by virtue of our spirit selection. And so that's how I got reeled in, so to speak, and I've not been able to find my way back to shore. A little puzzling, but I'm willing to live with that. So that's how I got to get connected with you guys. So Peter, thank you so much.
It's our pleasure. So stoked to see what you've done with it. It's really exciting to see, you know, what a number of people have done since coming to Tiki, but I think yours is the most impressive resume coming out of it. So glad our quirky and weird town in New Jersey could help bring that about.
Well, my life was never the same, and I hope that for those of you tuning in, thank you for taking the time, that maybe your cocktail life will not be quite the same when you leave the seminar. So just to give you an overview of what I want to share with you today, right? So Tiki conjures numerous images. I think the first thing that pops up for a lot of people is Polynesia and certain types of mugs. You might be able to see some of those back here. I'll show you a few of my favorites. Love my Hemingway from Anton at Fuchsia in New Paltz. Anton, thank you so much for this relic here. I got the Omer Clement. Boom. Looking fine with the shades on here. And then we got mugs that we associate with more traditional types of imagery. This one is from Three Dots and a Dash. Oh, my bad. My guy. I'm sorry. It gets to be a blur. But my point is, why do we love these mugs so much? All right. What's the idea here? The idea is that, you know, you're commemorating a moment and an experience and having taken your journey. And that's what Tiki and tropical cocktails are about. They're a moment and experience in the journey. This is Ian Burrell, by the way. Hello, Ian. So bear in mind, when I'm walking through these drinks, and when you think about drinks you want to make, it's all about creating a memory. Do not get too hung up on the recipe, right? Because everybody's different, everybody's palate is different, your situation is different. There's no right way to go about it. How do you want to feel? How do you want people to remember the moment you shared? That, to me, is the heart of cocktail culture and the heart of Tiki culture, because we pride ourselves on aloha, which is welcome, which is hospitality, which is cocktails. So please keep that in mind as I ramble on. Okay, so now I'm going to put my relics back on the shelf. Before I go into the drinks, I do want to address the fact that I know there's been a lot of conversations, especially via last week's seminar with Mariah Kunkel regarding Polynesian iconography. I believe that was a point in time that brought this experience of like a high-end, complex, edgy cocktail to our plates. And now we have other ways to look at the scape. It doesn't have to be tied to a particular geographic location. I think the spirit of it really is, how do I put together something that I feel surprised by, that you feel surprised by? To me, right now, that is the spirit of Tiki. And so that's where I'm coming from with the cocktails I'm going to show you today. So just to set the ground, set the stage.
Awesome. Should we jump into the deck, or we want to
yeah, let's
some other
go.
elements?
Let's get into the deck. So
all right, perfect.
We're going to be showing you some slides that break down my philosophy around how to come up with a cocktail recipe, what inspires me, what I reach for, what am I thinking about, what's helpful for you, and then I'll illustrate that in a couple cocktails with agua that have been really inspiring and delicious for me. Okay, so Pete, you're running this the slideshow here.
Yeah, we're on Tiki Past Future Perfect Recipe Guide.
Boom. Okay, so in a really exciting time here for Tiki. We have an amazing backlog of research and experience via Beach Bum Berry, who excavated the work of Trader Vic, who excavated the work of Don the Beachcomber. So these guys, as far as I'm concerned, are the godfathers of Tiki, in that Don the Beachcomber basically kind of set the stage for tropical drinks and theatrical cocktail experiences, themed bars in the US in the 1930s. Set the stage for like a themed bar. Followed by that, Trader Vic expanded on it a little bit by making it a little bit more for the masses by his Mai Tai and his global franchise, Trader Vic's, which at its heyday had over 12 locations in various locations, US as well as internationally. So I'm talking about the Beach Bum because he's the guy that did all the hard work to hit up these bartenders that work with these bars, do the research, crack the codes, and help us understand what these recipes were in the first place. For those of you who's a little less familiar, tiki cocktails were coded because there's so much competition. It was all very proprietary. Think about like crypto. It's like you don't want anyone to know the code. You don't want anyone to know your password. So there's like a good 14 years where no one really knew what was in these drinks, and Beachman Berry did a fantastic job of, say, kind of exhuming these from the vault and exposing bartenders of my generation and prior. And by prior, I'm talking about Giuseppe Gonzalez of Dutch Kills and later PKNY, to be able to investigate these as well as serve them to you. And I moved to New York around the same time that Giuseppe was involved in those projects. So I didn't know what I was getting into, but apparently I was here for a good thing. So there's a canon. It's
funny.
based on
Speaking back to Painkiller,
yes.
That's one of the first times I met Brother Cleve was DJing a Painkiller. Quite the experience.
Oh, I believe it. I mean, like, I gotta say, I'm giving a couple plugs right now. So the first one, Karen Jarman, who is one of the contributors to my book, was bartending, and my experience with her was so amazing. I was like, wow, being a bartender is rad. And Karen, if you're watching, hello. If you're not, hoping to see you soon. But that being said, that environment, that convergence about 10 years ago of the craft cocktail scene in New York, and then bartenders who were really into that and also really geeking out on obscure and difficult to unlock methods to bring a lot of flavor and funk to the table was just like, it was a small kind of subculture, even a punk culture. And so I think subconsciously I was drawn to that, and that's the inspiration for where I'm at right now. It's like the classic stuff that people nerded out on and we're looking for ways to make fresh. That's what I do with my cocktail. So just laying the stage.
Which I think is such a great way to bring people along. As somebody who has spirits in these random categories, I think connecting it to things that you know is a really great way to, one, experiment, two, learn how some spirits perform versus others. So really all about that, a big part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're at this really cool tipping point in cocktail culture for a number of reasons, and Tiki is the crux, right? So, in the last 10 years, you've seen the revival of classic craft cocktails as epitomized by like the Savoy cocktail book, and then later by bars like Milk and Honey. And so to me, those were skill building exercises. And then when you bring Tiki into the picture, it's like, how do you take your skills to this kind of Jedi level where you're doing extrapolations on basic templates that involve 3 ingredients or maybe 4, and then doubling up and scaling up, and you have to pay extra close attention as a result. There's no other genre that does that, and that's why I'm really fascinated by this. A little context for you guys. Before I started working with Gladys, I worked with a lot of kind of classic American bar programs, the Martini, the Martinez, the Manhattan, like kind of my go-tos at that time. Experimenting with different moves and, Amaros and blending all that stuff to come up with something that I thought would kind of give a slight variation in a classic. But within that, the concern is how can I take a simple idea and crank up the volume in a way and maybe throw a dash of salt or something you wouldn't think to do and just have fun with it. So, with that being said, let me walk you through my drink making philosophy. So we're going to look at the next slide. We're going to take a few cocktail classics, and then I'll juxtapose them with some ideas that I've had before we get into the cocktails today.
Got it. So principles of creativity. Nothing is new, and that's okay.
Yeah, okay. So for those of you who are literature buffs, cinema buffs, there's basically 8 storylines, and then you just like swap out names and circumstances. And the same is true for cocktails. There's basically 8 structures, and according to the mood, the time, who you are, who that person is across from you, you kind of make some tweaks and adjustments. So with that being said, it's not about being original, it's about being of the moment, okay? And so in order to be of the moment, you have to know what the background is. You have to know the history. You have to know the classics inside and out. You have to be able to kind of make it with your eyes closed, because that's your muscle memory. And then to that, you bring that personal interaction that brings your feelings into it, that brings the feelings of your guests into it, and that's where cocktails are born. So, look, full disclosure, I'm pretty bad at making new recipes. Scandal. Thing is, there's not much that's new to make. There are principles to become acquainted with and to master, and then you find your personal voice. And you can't have a personal voice before you have personal experience with those classics in various scenarios. By scenarios, I mean I'm at home mixing it for myself. I'm at home mixing it for my friends. I'm at this bar, that bar, seeing how to do it. You have to expose yourself to a lot of things in order to bring something nuanced and insightful to how you're going to bring an interpretation to tried and true classics. So also say is like, do not stress about making new cocktail because there's nothing new. It's principles. So devote yourself to that. Go out and live. I know we sometimes are a little wonky for that, but I hope you get the gist. It's not about what you come up with as much as it's about what you expose yourself to, and eventually it's just going to flow. So that's principle number 1.
Got it.
The second principle is that...
Tell me about wax on, wax
Wait,
off.
sorry? Did you just say that?
Tell me about wax on, wax off.
Boom. Okay, you just said it. All right. Well, I think I already explained that. But the point is, it's ironic. I think that make it a little more complicated than it has to be. It's really simple. Like almost every drink can be boiled down to 8 or 10 templates. Think of like working as a chef and doing mother sauces, and it's just figure out 8 basic recipes, and then you just always keep yourself open to various ingredients and experiences that will give you insight into that recipe. And then when you have the moment when an opportunity strikes to inject something in there, like a bolt of lightning, which we're going to do later, that's when you strike. So it's a little less about trying to like come up with something new and a little more about being very well versed in what is established and trusting that your process will pay off. That's how I've always done it. But I like that you brought up the wax on, wax off metaphor, Pete, because when I talk about it, I have about 15 years of martial arts training in various styles. And I like to say that
Oh, wow.
that has helped me a lot, just to be a student of the small details.
That's great. Didn't know that, I don't think.
I try to keep it on the hush. Keep it on the hush. But hey, if we're out together in the bar and go south, you know, I can help you out.
There you go. I appreciate that you got my back.
For sure. So I got a question for you guys. I think I got
Tell us about playing in the dirt. Oh, all right. To you.
I think I got a little bit of delay here. What are you guys seeing here?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
All right.
There is a little delay and I get a little feedback, but I think we're fine.
All right, cool. All right, good.
Making it
All right,
work.
so we covered those, the elements there. So now, then go to the next slide before you jump to the cocktails and kind of dig a little deeper into what guides my process of the funk.
Playing in the dirt.
Yes. Okay, so I love making bad cocktails. You're like, what? Yes. I love making bad cocktails because I love trying out
bad cocktails also.
Yeah, it's like I want to know what doesn't work so I can strike it off the list. Okay, so Thomas Edison apparently or reportedly made over 1,000 attempts to get to the light bulb, and Winston Churchill said, success is stumbling from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. Okay, so it's like, well, I know that doesn't work. Done. All right, let's strike it off. Let's keep it moving. So to that I say, yes, we want a successful result. And part of getting there is not needing to know before you start what's going to work, because you're limiting yourself to what you already know. And what good is that going to do? Have fun. Play in the dirt. Like, get a little dirty. Like, I have no problem with, I remember once being like on a wilderness training camp thing, whatever, and I couldn't start a fire with the wood. People were like, aren't you tired? I was like, no, I'm trying to understand why this isn't working. So understanding why something isn't working is going to be just as helpful to you as understanding why something works. It's all knowledge. So I encourage you not to be like wacky and haphazard by no means, but don't be afraid of pursuing a path that you know probably won't work, but you're gathering information which is going to empower you to be productive on the other side and have fun with that shit. I love it. So I love playing the dirt.
Jedi mind tricks. You're speaking my language right now.
I mean, I have nothing to lose by that method, and I think the same is probably true for most of you. I'm big into mistakes. It's all information, and yeah, that's the way I work. I make a lot of mistakes, and I have fun with it.
Got it. Simplify, amplify. We got some cocktails on here. You want to talk these?
Yes. So one of the things I love about working in a bar today, or working at this point in time, is that we have access to so many ingredients that the average American household, much less average American bar enthusiast couldn't even dream of 10 or 15 years ago, much less 50 years ago. Okay, so you can go to a market that specializes in certain ethnic cuisines, right? Okay, so I'm in New York, so I have access to Middle Eastern markets, to Asian markets of various persuasions. It's kind of off the charts. You can go online. It's like we talk about the American breadbasket. We have the global breadbasket now in a way we have never seen. So when I'm making cocktails, I think, well, what would Don have done? That could be a cute little medallion. But he was working off his experience of traveling the Caribbean and traveling Southeast Asia and Polynesia, and now we can look at those areas as well as West Africa, go a little deeper into the Caribbean, whatever you want. Like the world's our oyster. So, I mean, you might be able to see the back bar here. When Don the Beachcomber was coming up with his recipes, it was a different story. And that's just spirits. Now we're talking about different spices, fruits, juices, equipment, citric acid. We have so many more things to work with. And so it's a bit of a Pandora's box. But my point is, let's take the spirit of Don, which is to create unlikely combinations. Let's take advantage of the resources we have right now, and then let's combine it with the discipline of understanding the fundamentals. Those classes that I referenced before, those mother sauces. So you do your wax on, you understand proportions. A. You look at the vision of Don and what he would have done with these resources. And then C, get out there and start going a little wild and realizing it's going to be messy. But if you have those first two steps in mind, I think you're going to be pretty okay. Hence the cocktails I want to show you right now.
Right on. Do you want to talk about the zombie and the Muertito Vivo?
No.
Skip them.
Yes.
Skipping that.
No, I'm not skipping it. I'm being silly. So the idea here is that with the zombie, the ingredients that Don had at the time to achieve his flavor profile, he had to kind of spread out over a couple rums and absinthe and various syrups and juices. And now the average American consumer who has taken the time to understand this original zombie template can kind of do some of these things in condensed form. So I'm going to point out the Jägermeister, which I love using in Tiki. Think of like I know it gets a lot of laughs, but it does so much. Okay, so
it's a good product. It's of its own market, I would say. Yeah.
Well, the whole point here is that everything's fair game. Okay, so if you're looking at trying to get some citrus, some bitter notes from absinthe, some things from grenadine and fresh juice in one package, you can do that with Jaeger. So that's kind of like the MacGyver element too that I think makes Tiki really fun. It's like, how can I do a little bit of trickery and take something, make it work in a way you wouldn't normally put it to work? And that was
the first time I've heard MacGyver, Jaeger combined. I like it.
I hope they pay me for that. Lily Shine, I hope you're looking at this right now. Our point is, Tiki is a MacGyver operation because you got all these things you're trying to fit together, and in this age, we can find elements that can do the role of one. Like, one thing can do like what three things do. It's a little bit reversed, right? Don's like, all right, well, what one rum can do, three can do better. Okay, so in this kind of stripped down economy that we're in, and just efficiency in general, let's work in reverse. He's looking for three rums to do what he hoped one would do. So why not find one ingredient that can do the job of three and bring that to four so that so when you that one thing in there, you're getting three flavors. And
You bring the hog out? You taking a ride later? What's the
I
deal?
kind of wish. I kind of wish. It's at the shop right now. Mine is at the shop.
Got it.
My point is that take the Don, kind of thought process and apply it to our situation right now, which is like, let's make it simple. Let's expand by taking one thing that does the job of three things. Back then, who's talking about three things doing the job of one thing, more or less.
Dig it. Mirror, mirror. Got a jungle bird and a kitchen sound system.
This is such a fun drink for me. Like, okay, so I started working in wine, and aperitif are very close to my heart, and vermouth, and it has a verbal, like a infusion in it. And I think that most tea drinks, when you really look at it, they're infusions of some sort. So I have to admit, I don't. Oh, okay. This is how this drink came. Okay, so I was asked to come up with a cocktail that's inspired by a reggae song. Just when I was looking at Gladys, I really like Skylarking, and I was like, Skylarking, all right, cool. Jungle Bird, bird songs, da da da. And so I just flipped it. I took an unaged, majority pastel Jamaican rum, Poolside or pastel Jamaican rum, and instead of Campari, use Suze, which is a gentian alpine liqueur. Instead of pineapple, use soursop, which is almost like this big prickly pear, and has this really cool like pineapple flavor on the palate, but a pear for aroma and the nose. Phenomenal, super dry. And it was like, oh wow, it's almost like people doing like white and rummies for a while. I was like, I'm gonna do a white jungle book. It was kind of crazy. It worked out pretty well. So another element to consider is like, well, if I like this idea and it's an enduring template, maybe I can look for like the other side of that. What that would look like. In this case, it worked out.
Get on. Magpie.
I'm sorry, Pete. I think I missed you there.
Oh, we got the magpie here.
Yes. So this is in that jungle bird family, and I mean, Abla Kusasa, we're talking about birds taking flight here, so we're going to stay in that zone here. I'm going to do a similar template. I'm using a Red Amaro that's similar to Campari. This is some pineapple juice, cinnamon clove syrup that I made here, and the Amberana. So
we have a question for you. I don't know if you could hear, but got any advice for getting my hands on some soursop juice?
Yeah, so soursop also goes by guanabana, which is interchangeable in a Caribbean or Spanish market term. So if you live in an area where you can go to a market that focuses on Hispanic or Latin American products, you'll be able to find soursop. Any place that has Goya or Lafay will probably have it either as a box juice. You might find it as a frozen puree in that store, or if you have access to chef ingredients, you can order perfect puree or packed rim. That's more for restaurants, but if you just like kind of going to the store, an Asian market, a Latin American market will have soursop or guanabana, usually in their frozen section. All right, magpie. Boom. So
Perfect.
half an ounce. Yeah, no worries. Dessert. half an ounce of lime. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with this magpie. So the magpie is a bird that's a little on the smaller side, kind of colorful, and they fly about gathering bits of different colors and inspiration, and they make this really beautiful nets. So I was inspired by the story of Ebola in terms of different types of barrels that are utilized in expressions to gather these different facets of cachaça culture in Brazil. So taking that jungle bird, which is based on Jamaican rum, initially Campari, pineapple, lime, and being like, let me just bring that same flavor to it. So I'm gonna add the Amaro last. It's top secret, I won't tell you who made it. Doing half an ounce. This guy knows. So I love this drink because it's what I call a gateway drug to tiki, in that if you like an Negroni, you like a daiquiri, it's basically kind of somewhere in between, and I think most people can get down with it. So, magic. So I did what we call the dirty dump, where you just like pulverize your ice. Why is the ice playing with me? All right, so pardon me, guys. Be right back.
While we do that, I'll give you guys a little background. I know you've seen Outlaw before if you've been with us, but it's produced by a third-generation woman distiller in a farm about 4 hours outside of the city of Rio. State-grown cane, airborne yeast fermented for 24 hours, single distilled in an alembic pot still. Prata unaged, 84 proof, 6 months rested stainless. The Ambarana, which is featured in a couple of these things we're talking about today, it's a native wood age, so it imparts this really unique flavor of kind of cinnamon, baking spice, and nutmeg. Love for you to check it out if you haven't already. Back to Shannon.
Right on. All right, so I'm back with y'all. Had to grab some ice.
Looks tasty.
But it's a long wheel. You know, you can do pineapple fronds if you have those, but it's just meant to be very easy. Again, if you like the Negroni, you want something a little lighter for the summer, this would be the trick for you. It's a perfect mashup between that classic cocktail template and then that tropical thing. Just for those of you less familiar, the Jungle Bird originates from the God, sorry guys, forgive me. Kuala Lumpur Hilton in the 1970s. It was the last tropical cocktail that we think of as Tiki before the world of cocktails went dark, disco, and everything that went with it. So Giuseppe Gonzalez of
Good drink. Everywhere.
PKNY brought this back to us. Cheers, Magpie.
Awesome. So, a couple questions for you, Shannon. First of all, first tiki drink you ever tasted?
Painkiller. That's like the
Talk about tropical drink from NYC.
Oh my God. Okay, so I'm a little biased. A, because I met Giuseppe and the whole Dutch Coast crew before they opened it. That was great. And then when I went, Karen Jarman was working there. And as far as I know, she's no longer in New York, but she worked with that company for some time. And she's a contributor in the book, Tiki. She's really lovely. Totally about her. So the experience was like, wow, what a babe, what a fox. And I'll take a frozen drink from her any day. And I have to admit, it wasn't that nuanced. It was a while ago, but the bar was really snug. Kind of hit that note of being intimate and feeling a little underground, a little divey. Lower East Side, just like 10 years ago. So you had to like go down to the basement. And one of the things about Tiki that kept it alive when the bars were not really a thing were people's home bars and these more intimate experiences where it was more about a community and less about a cocktail recipe. And I think that's what's made it enduring, why people keep coming back.
Tell us about your Tiki by the Sea experience.
Wait, sorry?
Tiki by the Sea experience. Tell us a little bit about it.
It was terrible. I mean, I got there, I was like, oh, no. No, it's super cool. Like, so I was able to be there for the first Tiki by the Sea, and tell me I got it wrong, Pete, but this is maybe 6 years ago, and
yeah,
it was intimate.
accurate.
Yeah, 6 years ago, it was intimate. I think the best part, or the thing that let me know that I was in for some trouble, was the bus ride.
Sounds appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah, which was great, just to have that camaraderie right off the bat, and the stage was set in a really fun way, and got there, and I'm from Atlanta, so I wasn't familiar with New Jersey or Wildwood or the boardwalk culture, and learning that it wasn't just drink recipes, but learning that it was a culture was really inspiring to me, and seeing the Pants Hotel as well as the local area, and just having like this kind of combination of like, bartenders hanging out together, but also a wider culture was amazing. The beach was right there. Brother Cleve was there. I keep calling out Brother Cleve, but I mean, I think we all know that.
Cleve.
Brother Cleve wanted me to see the light. I was like, oh, wait. I was like, oh, I can make these drinks in my bar, and I'm probably one of the best setup bars at this point to do that. And so it just kind of set me on fire to showcase the spirits that I had behind the bar at Gladys that I wanted people to love and enjoy. And I realized that Tiki was the best way to do it. And so I just dove right in, and I can't get out.
Can't get out. Love it. Love it. By the way, plug for Wildwood. It's open. So even though we can't bring 100 bartenders down there, unfortunately, given the situation, it is still half open with proper social distancing. So if anybody's interested, hit me up. We'll get the friends and family Tiki rate. Go visit the Barcelona. Tom and Jenny, say hi, by the way.
Wait, so it's not open, but it's open?
The Barcelona's open. Tiki by the Sea is unfortunately physically not open.
Got it. Heard.
Yeah, heard. All right, let's get to your drink here. The next drink.
It's called a Poolside, which is appropriate because right now, according to this thermometer, it is 90 degrees in Brooklyn. I'm in my apartment, and I don't do AC. Don't ask me why. I like to be natural, and
That's impressive.
Evie is here looking at me sideways.
Well, I'm sure he's sweating. He's definitely sweating.
Like, why? But just a little background for you guys, like a little superfluous. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. And when I was opening up the bar at Gladys, I was kind of fascinated when I realized that the history of sugarcane production in the U.S. is tied to Charleston and Barbados. When Barbadian planters ran out of room for their plantations, the first place they looked to was the Charleston area where my family comes from. I grew up eating sugarcane as a snack. And so, again, there's all kinds of ways I feel like I gravitate towards it. So just had to notice in there. It's hot, it's 90 degrees, maybe it's 100 degrees in my apartment. You tell me.
I'm not thinking about it.
You won't say nothing. All right, cool. So the Poolside is inspired by the pina colada, which is, that prototypical resort drink. And now Tiki drinks kind of take a lot of cues from this bridge between what I see as traditional island drinks, traditional cultural drinks, let's say rum and coconut, rum and pineapple, right? And then you have resorts coming in the 1890s and then 1920s that are catering to Americans and Europeans and coming up with some pretty basic mixtures. And then Don Beach takes cues from that to create like more culinary, more. That's me as soon as Tiki. So I want to go back to this idea of like the pina colada, which people think it's like the trash drink, and I was like, well, is it? I don't think so.
It's not. It's such a good drink.
If it's not
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean, if you use some good stuff like agua, it's good. Okay, so I took that as an inspiration, and me personally, I'm not big on coconut cream. I don't like sweet stuff. There's no ice cream in my freezer. I don't ever have cookies, cakes, breads, and I haven't had a birthday cake in 10 years. Just give you some context for why I do this.
Sounds like we got to send you on.
Yeah, I just.
Pina colada cake. Poolside.
Well, I mean, I'm not a deprived individual. I prefer cigars, but just to give you a sense of my palate. So I love bananas because they can kind of cover this range of like very sweet, depending on their ripeness, or even kind of dry and dusty. And coconut can kind of do the same thing. So in the spirit of Tiki, it's like, well, let's investigate what these things are about here. So I'm going to start off with.
Can I give a timeout here, Shannon? One question. Can you talk about the prep of banana milk?
Yeah, super simple. You can puree equal parts fresh banana, and I prefer their ripe banana with a brown or even black skin in water. Strain out the solids, and then to that water you might add some cinnamon and clove. There's a more detailed recipe in my book, but the most basic recipe is just taking a very ripe banana, pureeing with water in the equal part ratio, and then strain out the solid.
Thank you.
So I'm going to do, no worries, half an ounce of banana milk. I cheated, got mine from the store. And then I'm going to do a quarter of an ounce of the cinnamon syrup. So the cinnamon will back up those more savory kind of baked spice aromas that you get from a ripe banana. And then to that, I'm going back to the traditional banana pineapple element. 3/4 ounce of pineapple juice. So I don't know about you guys. Tiki sometimes suffers from this like so sweet reputation. And one of the things I had in mind at Gladys was like, well, I don't like sweet drinks, and I want people to really enjoy the spirits that are in these bottles. So every recipe I came up with was really focused on how do I capture the earthiness and the funkiness. Like I mean, ripe banana and cassava. Come on, right? So how do I?
Yeah, I mean that's one of the notes we hear the most.
Yeah.
Plantain, banana, ripe banana.
How do I keep that intact and keep it tropical and fresh while keeping the sugar element, minimal? I don't think that has to be the main stage. There's a lot of drinks that do that already. So let's, try something else. All right, I gotta give a shout out to my boys at SOS Tiki in Atlanta, my hometown. Hope you guys are doing good. This one's for you.
Oh, I met those guys at the Hukilau.
Yes, they're hysterical. So I'm doing this the hard way. If you have a blender, which I don't have here in my living room bar, you come out better using that, but shaking is just fine. The recipe's in my book. This is the other one. So I'm going to top this off with a little extra banana milk.
It's really not right. I don't get to drink all these cocktails that I see made on this podcast that I'm doing.
I mean, did you not choose to be in another location, Pete?
I did. It's true.
Cool. So, I'm here sweating away in Brooklyn, so I don't know what to tell you.
So user error is basically what you're saying.
Look, I don't want to say you can't have it all, but sometimes you gotta pick. Okay, so the recipe in my book calls for some fresh grated lime. This weather for me is calling for some mint, just to bring a little freshness to it. But the whole intention is that you're getting some extra botanicals that come off from the pata. Now, you got your poolside.
Wow. Need that in my life.
Well,
I am by a pool.
Are you sitting by a pool, Pete? Did I get that wrong?
I'm sitting by a pool. Hold on. Let's see.
Right, okay.
Can you see? Oh, you can't see me, but that's cool.
Yeah.
I am poolside. All right. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh man, the pleasure's so mine. I appreciate you guys taking the time.
But hold on, we're not done. We're not done. So, in order to stay in touch with Shannon, you can email her, Instagram at Shannon Mustipher, website shannonmustipher.com. Tip jar, please do tip your bartender at Shannon-Mustipher, Venmo, Shannon.Mustipher, Gmail. Really appreciate you guys doing that if you're in a place to do so. I heard you have an Evie Malka over there.
Yeah, Evie, come back here, man. Stop hiding.
I'm just cooling off.
Evie,
I'm just cooling off.
Cool.
Like
I got the cocktail though.
Boom. Cheers. Evie,
Poolside.
You gotta get a squat, power squat.
Boom.
Power squat down. Can't see you. There you go.
Jeanette.
There you go. Even a little lower. Get a little lower.
Yo, Evie.
I like this even better. The 5 questions, we need to actually do it in a squatting position.
Squatting. Yeah, I'm already burning. I feel lactic acid building.
You guys, you got to know that Evie came and saved the day. I was having some technical difficulties. He was holding it down. So, guys, give it up for Evie. Give it up for Evie.
I can hear it.
All right, that's
but thanks for having me here. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on this podcast.
A little lower. There you go. Yeah. Come on. Yoga squat.
Give us a second, guys. We're going to get seated. We're going to be.
Is this good here?
All right, Malka, 5 seconds. Evie Malka is an integral part of the drift spirit. He represents Avila Classic Full Athlete for us in the Northeast. Jack of all trades, logo redesigner, etc., etc. Oh, spinning. That's kind of.
This is it, man.
All right. Favorite cocktail? Go.
Favorite cocktail? When I'm not drinking Avila, Cachaça, or full aquavit, my favorite cocktail is a Hemingway Daiquiri. Clean, crisp, refreshing at all times.
You could drink that with both of those, though, by the way. Favorite Tiki by the Sea memory. Favorite Tiki by the Sea memory.
There's a lot here. I'm going to quickly sprinkle in 2 if I got the time. Tiki 4, Wave 2, right? Leading up to like the boardwalk session that week, I was practicing my basketball shooting at the boardwalk, and any garbage I found, any sort of opportunity I found. And come boardwalk Wave 2 that year, Marv, who was also one of my colleagues, he was crushing it at the boardwalk with the basketball game. I was shooting I was giving my all, thanks for putting me in, coach, kind of thing. And then there was a moment in time where everyone from the Tiki squad sort of cried out against us, around us and everything. And I remember a particular Miss Steve Casey, I know she's over there somewhere. She was sort of watching me in the back, and I straight up hit nothing but net on this one shot, and the eye contact her and I made was phenomenal. So that right there was one of my favorite moments in general. Wow. And that was Steve sort of way. But it was a very touching moment, kind of vibe, pretty fun. A quick second one, if I have the time to throw it in, is when we went to Hooked Up last year, in between Tiki sessions. Hooked Up is a small little seafood restaurant along the water, all outside, super sweaty, super kind of like a bunch of flies everywhere, getting dirty with the U-peel shrimp and having cold beers. But that was a great time, too. That was one of the best meals I've had in my life, so I'm going to throw them up there, too.
Hooked Up is legit. That actually segues into question 3. Describe South Jersey. South Jersey.
I'm going to counter question. Do you want me to describe Wildwood or South Jersey as a geographic? It's 2 different things.
South Jersey. The whole
South
thing.
Jersey. All right. So being that I was just there, this is somewhat fresh in my mind in a way. The best formula I have how to recreate any South Jersey is to find any kind of sort of small town, small city in Midland America that's landlocked. Literally pick up all the population, run them through Philly, and then throw them in South Jersey by the beach and rewind time for like 30 years ago. That's my how to make any town in South Jersey. Some Philly grit and some landlocked people enjoying the beach.
Keeping it real.
Cheers.
All right, that's pretty good. I'll take that. Just wild experience. Take that last one. Weird.
Sorry, kind of cut out there. Please repeat the question.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Yes. Now we can.
Oh, boy.
Now we can.
I just can't see her in the camera. Pete, we missed you. What's going on here, man?
We can hear you laughing, but the question we can't really hear. Here's the question. Just pull it up.
So, Pete, I just got to ask you, though, Santa Monica, really?
Sure. Weirdest Wildwood experience? Is that the question you got? Can't hear him. Yes. Cool. Weirdest Wildwood experience I've had. Comes back to last year. We did our closing party at the Caribbean. My first time ever walking in there, and this is like kind of sort of a focal point when we do our Tiki tour to take a photo outside. But the first time I stepped foot in some of the rooms there, it felt like a straight up time warp, like you're in the Twilight Zone. So I think hanging out in that small little hotel, even for that closing party, was probably one of the weirdest experiences I've had, just being in that weird energy there. You guys can enjoy that hotel too one of these days, but yeah, that's what I got down to. And the last question I got here, it's not really intended for me, but I'll.
Okay, what's the question?
Those for Elaine.
Oh, okay.
I'm just hanging out here, right?
What?
I'm just hanging out here having some cocktails while they fix these
nice?
technical difficulties.
Yeah, no, it's just
It's
so
the way to
good.
go, right? You always have some sort of drink by your feet.
Hello.
Things don't work
Cheers.
out. Cheers again. Here we are.
Okay.
This is great here. The first time I had this drink was one of your book happy hours.
King Tide.
King Tide, yeah.
That was lit.
That was a beautiful presentation too. Like, you had a little bamboo cup with hay straw, and I could feel the cool things. It was delicious. I probably knocked out like double digits of those that day. That was great.
That was kind of crazy.
Phenomenal.
That
was a great party too.
Idea.
Yeah, you've had a lot of great parties. Even with Brother Cleve, we had was it like Christmas time a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That was also a banger too, man. It's great.
Can't help it.
And Tiki and party go hand in hand. You know, what's going on here? Yeah, I mean, look, this at the end of the day, I think we got what we have here. We're hanging out here with some drinks, phenomenal cocktails, of course. Your book, we should go grab your book, throw a quick little plug in too.
Yeah, let me get it.
Yeah, for sure. Shannon's book came out not long ago, but it's a phenomenal collection of cocktails and visionary and images. Regardless. Shannon's book is right here. She has a copy of it in her hand. You can purchase it on Amazon, or other places, but great little book here. Highly recommend for anyone that's into Tiki, not just for the recipes, like I said, but also for the imagery, the photos, high res, a lot of color, really about the culture itself, in the typical sense here. But great book, great little present across the board. How long did it take you to come up, like, sort of conceptualizing and the whole process of the book?
Well, it took about 4 odd years from beginning to start. So I met the photographer of the book, no effects, a year after I opened Gladys, and we met through a mutual friend. He shot her cookbook. Her name is Nicole Taylor, and she has a few books out. She predicted we would join hands in Nights of the Sunset, which apparently bore out. And I helped him to create some test images while he was like working on food photography to liquor, and he worked with Zoe and a number of titles prior to this book, and we just came up with this idea, pitched it in his editor, and then that was that. So it took about 2 years to write, to get all the imagery together, and I've been touring with it for the last year, odd year. Been pretty wild. Been in like 20 cities, since like 50 events, just going berserk with it, but loving every moment of it.
It's great. I mean, it's, you know, to your point, like I've seen the reception across the Tiki universe, not just in the U.S., but in Canada too, and most of North America. And it's just been phenomenal reception behind it. I hope you have something else coming up along the lines too soon. I think we all want more of your Tiki books in general. You know, hopefully you got something lined up for us.
I always have something for you guys. You know, I'm an old school kind of person. I love serving the people. I just have always enjoyed having the opportunity to come up with something that makes someone's day a little bit better.
Yeah.
And with a book like this, it was like, wow, I don't have to be at the bar to get someone a drink. They can just give me my book.
Right.
Perfect.
So sort of the same experience. Yeah. Where can people purchase this book nowadays?
Amazon.com is a good place, but if you have a local bookseller, I would say look them up first. they don't have it, support their business. Ask them to order it. I always go local first, but if you can't find it there, you can find it on Amazon.com.
It's great. So I think we're going to wrap up the show here. Just like, next week we have the legendary Michael Neff kind of talking about sort of how to thrive and survive during these wonky times, to say the least. Please tune into that. And one more time for Shannon's tip jar, please feel free to sort of donate as you feel free to. Can you give one more time what your tip jar is on?
Yeah, so Venmo at Shannon Mustipher, just my first and last name separated by a dash. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to be here. I am connected to Gladys Caribbean, which is closed, and am collecting tips to benefit our workers who are out of work at the juncture. So please give generously. I appreciate your time and hope you have fun with these recipes.
For sure. Thanks, guys. Take care. See you next week at Michael Neff's seminar.
Thank you, Shannon.
Right.
Thank you, Evie.
Bye, guys.
Take care, guys. Thank you very much for hanging in.
Thank you so much for
Hey.
joining us. We can't wait to see you next week with Michael Neff. See y'all soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
So,
Okay. So this was a really great session. Shannon talked about her book and cocktails in her book. We all learned how to make banana milk today. And hopefully you take these recipes with you. If you don't already have her book, find her book and learn how to make some drinks. And we look forward to Michael Neff and his talk next week. And we look forward to you joining us.